From Hollywood, the CBS Radio Workshop.
Well, folks, that just about winds up tonight's broadcast from the interplanetary rocket ship American Initiative. If Commander Potter's astral navigation continues to hold as true as it has so far, I will be broadcasting to you tomorrow night at this time from the planet Venus, which even now looms dead ahead of us, brighter and somewhat larger than our own moon. This is J. Alexander Caudle, speaking for Caledonia Oil, Shirley White Toothpaste, Eines Kleines Nacht Beer, and Bar None Dog Food, and returning you now to the CBS studios on Earth.
CBS Radio presents the CBS Radio Workshop, dedicated to man's imagination, the theater of the mind. Tonight, A Pride of Carrots, or Venus Well Served, by the noted American novelist Robert Nathan. And here to tell his story is Mr. Nathan himself.
According to recent newspaper reports, scientists have been hearing strange and mysterious radio signals which they are convinced are broadcast from the planet Venus. And this may very well be the case. No one knows for certain that life exists on the other planets, but then no one can say for certain that it does not. And if it does, no one can say what form that life may take. One man's guess is as good as another's. And this is mine. This is the way Venus looks to me.
Feels good to stretch your legs again.
It sure does. You feel heavier or lighter?
Just normal.
Then the gravity's about the same as Earth. Look there.
What?
A daisy. You can take off your helmet.
You sure?
Sure. The presence of flora indicates the presence of air. Quite good air, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that rocket was getting a little musty. Well, this is a solemn moment, Commander.
It is indeed, Caudle, the first man on Venus. Hand me the flag, will you?
Oh, here you are.
I hereby claim this planet for the United States of America.
Through the courtesy of Caledonia Oil, Shirley White Toothpaste, Eines Kleines Nacht Beer, and Bar None Dog Food.
Oh, really, Caudle, must you?
Well, it's in my contract.
But we aren't on the air.
Well, a little rehearsal never hurt anyone. Anyway, we will be as soon as the tubes on this walkie-talkie warm up. 1, 2, 3, 4, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, testing. There we are. CBS on Earth from Caudle on Venus. CBS on Earth from Caudle on Venus. How do you read me? That's funny. They're standing by around the clock on this frequency. Earth from Venus. Earth from Venus. Come in, Earth.
Maybe freak atmospherics.
Oh, fine. At a time like this to run into freak... Potter.
Yes?
Do you see what I see over there in those bushes?
Speaking of freaks.
What is it?
Well, it looks like a little horse.
Yeah, but it's got wings and a sort of beak.
And a tail like a kangaroo. And it's coming this way.
Where's the ray gun?
I'll get it.
All right, stand back, you filthy beast. Go away. Go away.
I beg your pardon?
You talk?
Oh, naturally I talk. So do you. Haven't I seen you somewhere before?
Certainly not.
Oh, I'm sure I have. Oh, yes, on CBS. The outside of the inside of the news. You're J. Alexander Caudle.
Do you mean to say you get our programs here on Venus?
Venus? What do you mean, Venus? You're from Venus up there. We call it the evening star at certain times of the year.
But that's Earth.
Nonsense. This is Earth. That's Venus. Silly, isn't it? But that's semantics for you. For instance, what would you call a group of carrots?
Bunch.
Bunch? Oh, good heavens, no. A pride of carrots. That is, of course, on this side of the border. And a gaggle of onions. But if you were on the other side of the border, it would be an exaltation of onions and a deceit of carrots. Semantics, you see. It depends on your point of view.
I see.
A charm of griffins.
You are a griffin, I take it?
Of course. Rather highly placed, as a matter of fact. Hey, you notice my gold collar? I belong to the Secretary of the Interior. My name is Fido.
And the secretary?
A very able carrot. Quite famous in his own right, but even more so for his wife's tassel. You've seen ordinary carrots, no doubt, with their green tops. But this is a most unusual tassel. Blue! Everyone is copying it.
How does it happen that you, an animal, belong to a vegetable?
Well, one has to eat.
Vegetables?
Oh, dear, no. Caraway seeds, truffles, marzipan. You look a little like marzipan yourself. You mind if I try?
Hey, cut it out. Stop biting me.
Delicious, but definitely not marzipan. What is it?
Meat, you fool.
You don't say. Meat. I never tasted meat before.
You're meat yourself.
I am? Splendid. I'll just try me. Ooh, that hurt.
Well, of course it hurt. Now stop this nonsense and lead us to your master.
Oh, yes, of course. That's why I'm here, isn't it? Follow me, fellow animals.
They had not walked far through fields of charming wildflowers which sang like birds until they came to a shady bower of massive ferns. In the middle, reclining on a soft bed of lettuce leaves, were 2 carrots, much like any other carrot you may have encountered, excepting that one had a tassel of the most brilliant blue. The carrot with a standard green tassel rose as they approached.
Welcome to our planet.
Well, thank you.
In the name of the United States Navy,
Later, Potter, later. Your Majesty, that is, Your Majesties.
We are not majesties. This is a republic. I am Edwin, Secretary of the Interior, and this is my wife, Edwina.
And you're the famous news commentator, J. Alexander Caudle, and you're Commander Potter.
Well, precisely, madam.
We've been watching your trip ever since your takeoff, until we lost you when you rounded Mars. You're most welcome.
Well, thank you, madam. You can perhaps conceive the feelings with which Commander Potter and I gaze upon this unfamiliar scene, the first mortals ever to... What's that?
Oh, that's my daughter Alice. She knows all the latest songs. She says she's a cool cat, whatever that is.
Hi, everybody. Company?
Yes, dear. Come here and meet our visitors from outer space. Mr. Caudle, Commander Potter.
Oh, I know all about them, Mother. Welcome to Caratania, gentlemen.
I have already welcomed them, Alice.
Oh, you don't understand the animal kingdom, Father. They'd much rather be welcomed by a young girl.
Really, Alice, where do you learn such things?
At school, in zoology class.
And where did you learn that song?
Oh, I watch your television all the time. I want to be a great actress and sell cigarettes. You think I'm mad?
No, that sounds like a very normal ambition to me.
Oh, I like you, Potter. You interest me.
Now, Alice, you simply must stop this prattle. We're all a little on edge, I'm afraid. This last day of waiting has been, well, after all, they could have landed in Onionopolis.
But they didn't. The onions didn't get them. We got them.
The onions?
Yes. You see, our planet is divided into 2 countries, the Democratic Union of Caratania and the United Socialist Republics of Leeks and Onions. They are constantly threatening us with war.
Well, why?
They want us to be onions.
But that's absurd.
Of course it's absurd, especially when you realize that the only possible thing for everyone to be, if he wants to live a decent kind of life, is a carrot.
Oh, naturally.
But the onions won't see it our way, and they can't be trusted. I'm given to understand that they plan to use nematodes. It's race suicide, of course.
Nematodes. Let me think. Aren't they the tiny worms that all but ruined the citrus in California back in the 40s?
I don't know much about citrus. Not exactly my line, you know. But here, the nematodes eat vegetables, a kind of virus, too small to see. We've tried to outlaw them, but the onions won't agree. Well, we'll wipe each other out, I suppose, and the spiders can take over. It's sad to think about. Just spider webs everywhere.
You know, it seems to me that they worked out a way to fumigate for nematodes out in California. See, if I could just get through to CBS on Earth, I could find out.
You've had difficulties getting through?
Well, at any rate, Earth isn't getting through to me.
I'm sure we could get you through on a planet-to-planet hookup, particularly if you can find out anything about fumigating for nematodes.
Hey, Commander, you hear that? We're going on the air after all.
Oh, splendid. You want me to make a prepared report, or shall we ad-lib?
Well, you better type the report. You can ad-lib to your wife.
Oh, you have a wife, Potter.
Oh, yes, my dear. Every Navy man over a full lieutenant has a wife.
A woman, I presume.
Oh, yes, definitely. Has to be, you know.
What is your wife like, Potter?
Why, she's female, like this.
How odd. Bumpy, isn't she?
Well,
You're not bumpy, Potter.
no, I suppose not.
Yes, well, Your Excellency, how soon do you think you can get us on the air?
We should be able to have it set up in a few hours.
Well, now, my regular spot is 8:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You think you can make it?
We'll do our best.
Oh, great. Hey, this calls for a celebration. It's too bad we haven't a bottle of champagne.
Champagne? What's that?
Well, a kind of bubbly wine.
Wine is made from grapes, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure I like the idea. Some of our best friends are grapes.
Yes, well, don't worry, ma'am. We haven't any champagne anyway.
We could break out our emergency rations.
Now, that's a fine idea.
Got a can opener?
Sure, right here. You care to join us, Your Excellency?
Well, I don't know. May I see that can, please?
Oh, sure. Here you are.
U.S. Navy for emergency use only. Concentrated carrot juice.
I think I'm going to bed.
Guards, seize these men. Put them under arrest. They're onions in disguise.
Our scene shifts now to Onionopolis, capital of the United Socialist Republic of Leeks and Onions, which controls half of the planet Venus. We are in the office of the Secretary General of the party, a large, fat white onion named Odor, as General Shallot enters.
Death to carrots.
Death to carrots. Well, General,
The rumor has been verified by the underground. They landed near Carrotopolis this morning.
how did you permit this to happen, General?
Unfortunately, our side of the planet was turned away from the direction they were traveling, so they landed on the backside, comrade.
Excuses. We must have those spacemen, General. We must have their technical skill before the carrots get it, or we will be in the soup.
Yes, comrade.
It is insufferable that we who invented television, jet propulsion, the atomic bomb, and the bicycle should be deprived of these two men who can tell us how to use them. It is an outrage, a national insult. Death to carrots.
Likewise.
I want those two spacemen.
It may be difficult, comrade.
You could call me Excellency or Little Father. Everyone does.
I am a descendant of the Garlics. A Garlic does not call anything Excellency.
Of course. I was only joking. Here we are all comrades, all Excellencies, Little Fathers. Except Leeks, of course.
Of course. Death to carrots.
Death to carriage. By the way, General, what are you doing tonight?
Imperialistic warmongers. Nothing.
Capitalistic swine. Come have dinner with me.
Decadent bourgeois. Love to.
And those spacemen must be bourgeois, too, or they would have landed here.
Possibly.
Undoubtedly, but we will change their point of view once we have made them our guests, comrade?
That might not be so wise, comrade.
Why not? Don't you want to learn how to set off guided missiles and ride bicycles?
That is not the point, comrade. If we abduct these spacemen, we give Carotania a splendid opportunity to protest. And you must remember, comrade, protests are weapons, too. The very best weapons. They cost nothing, and properly used, they create an odor. A real onion odor.
Then you are opposed to kidnapping these spacemen?
Definitely.
Very well. I shall think about it. You could go, General.
Thank you, comrade.
Oh, by the way, I have news for you. You have just been promoted to Field Marshal.
Thank you, comrade. Strength to onion.
Strength to onion. See you at dinner.
Death to carrots. I'll be there.
Death to carrots, 8:30 sharp. Hello? Secret police? General Shallot has just left my office. Liquidate him.
I'm hungry. Wonder when they feed their prisoners in this lousy jail.
What difference does it make unless you have an appetite for bone meal, ammonium sulfate, and peat moss?
Ugh, guess I'm not hungry after all.
You shouldn't have shown him the label on the can, old man. That's what did it.
Well, how could I tell? I thought it'd be chicken consomme.
Usually is.
Just when I had the greatest broadcast in history lined up.
Now what?
There's a lady to see you.
Miss Alice.
Shh, not so loud. Thank you, Sergeant. You can leave us now.
Mind you, Miss Alice, this is contrary to your father's orders and against my better judgment.
Oh, I know, Sergeant, but it's utterly divine of you.
I shall be just outside. Scream if you need help.
You wouldn't hurt me, would you, Potter?
Glad to have you aboard, ma'am.
They say that you're dangerous vegetarians, that you eat carrots. Do you really?
Well, you see, ma'am...
I don't believe it. You're much too nice to eat poor little me.
Thank you, ma'am.
You know, you yourself are a vegetarian, Miss Alice.
I am not. I'm a vegetable. It's not the same thing at all.
Well, now, just answer me this. What will happen to you when you die?
I'll be buried, of course, in the National Compost Heap.
From which the rich, steaming soil is taken to nourish the young carrots, right?
Of course.
Which then must of necessity feed upon your decayed flesh.
Why, of course. Why, how madly amusing. I really did eat my ancestors, didn't I? Oh, but I missed Mother and Father.
I should hope so.
But now what could be more satisfying to a girl's psyche than to have her father under her belt?
Oh, have you been through analysis?
Of course, haven't you?
Well, yes.
Oh, it's so nice to be able to talk the same language, isn't it? My analyst says the trouble with me is my mother has a blue top.
Exactly. The active competition of an adult parent.
It tends to make me aggressive. Kiss me, Potter.
Huh? What?
Kiss me.
Good Lord, really?
Are you afraid, Potter? It isn't even spring. I don't come into blossom till July.
I know, but...
Am I not beautiful? Am I not to be desired by the Navy?
Oh, yes, indeed, but...
I could have your head, Potter, on a silver tray, like Salome.
I know, but...
I could set you free.
Well, for heaven's sake, kiss her and get it over with.
Yeah, but... Oh, you smell so good. Like a grocery store.
Ooh, it's like April. Is this love, Potter?
How can I feel this way about a carrot?
I feel a strange heat. Not like the sun.
Like a garden in the summer.
I don't feel at all like a vegetable.
I wouldn't have thought it possible.
Look, how about getting us out of here?
The time is up, folks.
Oh, yes, I suppose it is. Oh, but don't worry, my darling. I'll be back. I'll be back quickly to set you free. You'll see.
Well, there's the Navy for you. What have you fellas got that I haven't got?
Blossoms in our hair.
You really like the girl, don't you?
Yes.
Well, now, of course, it's none of my business, but what about Mrs. Potter?
What about her?
Well, she isn't going to like this pretty vegetable of yours.
Caudle, could you be jealous of a stalk of celery?
I am not married.
No, of course, that does make a difference. Oh, I wish we were safe at home. There's something frightening about being in love with a carrot.
You smell anything, Commander?
No.
That's funny. For a moment, I thought I smelled onions.
Well, that's not very likely.
I don't know. My eyes are watering.
Mine, too. You know, I do smell onions.
Gentlemen.
Who are you?
You are free, gentlemen.
She did manage it then.
This way. Hurry, please.
Where is she? I can't see very well. My eyes are full of tears.
She's waiting for you,
Just a minute, Commander. This isn't a carrot, it's an onion.
Take them, comrades.
So you see, gentlemen, we had no choice. The stakes were too high, being no less than war or peace.
What are you talking about?
Simply this, Commander Potter of the U.S. Navy. How do you make war?
How do we do what?
Make war. How do you destroy whole armies, cities, countries with all their inhabitants without, at the same time, annihilating yourselves? Unfortunately, there is no blight that will make compost out of carrots without doing the same for onions. I have to think of my people.
Bless you, little father.
Thank you, Spindleskull. You see, Commander, we are still in the drawing board stage. We need technicians.
Don't look at me.
My dear Commander, you must understand that the end justifies the means. When onions rule the world, who would wish to be a carrot? I offer you an important place in history.
The only place I want to be is next to a girl with a carrot top who smells like a garden after rain.
Now, let us not grow emotional. But perhaps you are closer to her than you think. Will you teach us to make war, Commander? You see, I am giving you another chance. Opportunity rarely knocks so often.
I will not.
Very well. Perhaps we will find a way to make you change your mind. There is a little experiment I am planning with a pot of boiling water. How would you like to see your, shall we say, girlfriend floating about with only a marrow bone for company. A quite excellent soup, petite marmite, I believe it is called.
You're bluffing.
Am I? We shall see. Spindle.
Yes, little father.
Take these gentlemen to the solarium and entertain them. Show them the vampire marigolds and the lizard-eating oleander, and they might be amused to watch the muerte vine digest its daily mouse.
I warn you, Odor, the United States Navy will not take this lying down.
Nor will CBS.
This way, animals.
Send in the other prisoner. Well, come in, young lady. Don't be bashful. I won't eat you.
What do you want with me? Why did you bring me here?
I suppose you wouldn't care to tell me the whereabouts of the Carrot 8th Army. No? Oh, youth, so stupid, so impulsive, so desirable, but so uncooperative. By the way, your friend Commander Potter is here. He, too, has proven uncooperative. We may have to press him a little.
He wouldn't dare.
He is being shown the muerte vines at this very moment.
Not the meat eaters.
Why not? The commander is meat, I believe.
Oh, no, not that.
Of course, I could be persuaded to change my mind. Oh, you have such lovely skin, my dear. So moist and tender.
Please.
You smell good, too, like a salad. Fragrant but delicate. What freshness, what youth. I adore you.
I loathe you.
You do not realize your situation. One word from me, you are in the soup.
I would 1,000 times.
Or what is perhaps more to the point, your friend Mr. Potter is left alone with the vampire marigolds.
Oh, no.
Oh, that fetches you. You really care for him, don't you?
More than life.
All the better. It's much more exciting to make love to a woman already in love. It adds a kind of seasoning, as it were.
You nettle. You noisome weed.
Splendid. So sweet and so hot, almost like a Spanish onion.
Is this the way you make war? On women and children?
War? Who's making war? I'm making love.
You are odious to me.
Very well. We will try Mr. Potter in the muerte vines.
Oh, no. I can't stand it.
You give up? You give in?
Will he have a safe conduct back to my father?
Yes.
Will there be one for me?
Later.
Write it out.
But of course. For Mr. Potter, a pass. Also for Mr. Caudle. And now for Miss Alice.
Yes, little father.
Spindle, you will let the spaceman go. And you will see that this lady is returned to her own people. Later.
It shall be done, little father.
Now, divine creature, at last you are mine.
No, stand back.
Silly girl, drop that paper knife and receive the kiss of the little father.
No. It is thus a carrot kisses.
Alice!
Oh, Potter, thank heavens you're safe.
You're crying.
It's nothing. It's only onion juice. Here, your passes. Go quickly, both of you.
And you?
I must wait for a little while. If I go with you now, they'll be suspicious.
No. If we have to die, then we'll die together.
Oh, no, my dear Potter. That wouldn't help my country, or this little world, or even me. I've become very sensible, Potter, very realistic. Don't you see it doesn't matter about me? But you, Potter, you're the hope of the future. Look, I'll try to catch up to you at the frontier. If I don't come, be kind to Carrot, Potter, for my sake. Go now, and God bless you.
Come on, Potter. We're on the air in an hour.
Hurry, they're coming back.
I'm staying with you.
No, my dearest Potter, go. Go, the world needs you. The universe needs you.
Come on, Potter.
Farewell, then, my dearest Alice.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Earth and other species throughout the planetary system. This is J. Alexander Caudle, bringing you the very first broadcast from Venus. Through the courtesy of Caledonia Oil, Shirley White Toothpaste, Eines Kleines Nacht Beer, and Bar None Dog Food. Excuse me a moment, ladies and gentlemen. There's some confusion here in the studio. We've just received a bulletin. What's that? Oh, no. Alice? In the soup?
Let's see. And I'll need a pound of peas.
Pound of peas.
And a cauliflower.
Cauliflower. You must be very happy to have your husband back again, Mrs. Potter. And all those write-ups in the papers, my goodness. Did it really get to Venus like they said? I missed the broadcast.
Yes, he did. A bottle of ketchup.
You know, he looks a little thin in his pictures. I guess maybe they didn't have much to eat up there.
I guess not.
What was it like? Did he tell you?
He hasn't said much. 4 dozen onions.
4 dozen?
That's right. He eats them all the time. Raw.
Raw? They say onions are good for colds.
I know.
There's lots of things like that, like carrots make your hair curly.
Oh, he won't touch carrots.
He won't? Not even cooked?
Not even cooked. I served a petite marmite the other night, and he got up and left the table.
No. Now, isn't that something?
1 sack of peat moss.
What's that for?
He says he's got blossoms in his hair.
That'll be 3:47, Mrs. Potter. I'll have someone take them out to the car for you.
Thank you.
Goodbye now. Blossoms in his hair? In February?
The CBS Radio Workshop, produced in Hollywood by William N. Robeson, has presented A Pride of Carrots, or Venus Well Served, by Robert Nason, with the author as narrator. A Pride of Carrots was adapted for the workshop by Mr. Robeson, who also directed the production. Heard in the cast were Helene Burke, June Foray, Tracy Roberts, Dawes Butler, Ted Bliss, Richard Hale, Alan Reed, Sam Pierce, and Bill Thompson. The original score was composed and conducted by Jerry Goldsmith. Next week, from New York, the workshop will examine that so often discussed and little understood subject, the Oedipus complex, with illustrations from Sophocles, who first dramatized it, to Eugene O'Neill, who is by no means the last to probe its dramatic depths. For Mozart's concerto for piano and orchestra in A minor, played by Robert Casadesus, and for Elizabeth Schwarzkopf's moving interpretations of songs by Richard Strauss, join us on Sunday, when on most of these same stations, world music festivals will be on the air, with highlights from the famous Salzburg Festival. Stay tuned for 5 minutes of CBS News, to be followed over most of these same stations by My Son Jeep. America listens most to the CBS Radio Network.
The unexplored life is not worth living.
That was the Greek philosopher Socrates, now dead these 23 centuries. The CBS Radio Workshop, dedicated to man's imagination, the theater of the mind. Our theme tonight is a timeless one. The tragic fate of men and women who violate mankind's most awesome taboos and must suffer the penalty, both in the torments of their own souls and in the fearful punishment meted out to them by gods and men, even if they were actually innocent of guilty intent. The specific situation involved in our study is so ancient that we refer to it by a term derived from the name of a Greek prince who lived more than 3,000 years ago. Our title, The Oedipus Story. Oedipus, we are told, was the son of King Laios and Queen Jocasta of the Greek city-state of Thebes, not far from Athens, and belonged to the generation just preceding that of the Trojan War, that is, to the 11th century before Christ. Oedipus's parents were childless and had in despair sent a messenger to the famous temple of Phoebus Apollo at Delphi to ask the god through his prophetic priestess to grant them a son and heir.
Holy Pythia, I'm sent by my lord and lady, the king and queen of Thebes, to pray a boon of mighty Phoebus. I bring gifts.
Name the boon.
The king and queen lack one thing only to make their happiness complete. A son.
Let me see those offerings. A tripod. Gold? No. Good workmanship, though. Spices, incense. No meat?
The sheep are tied outside.
How many?
3.
Well, stay where you are, whatever your name is, while I consult the god. Mighty, son, heavenly archer, seers of the gods. There's one before me who seeks a favor. He's from Thebes, he says. His king and queen long for a child, a son. They send gifts, mighty Phoebus. I have put some of their incense into the fire. I hear you, master. I hear you, Lord. No. Yes, master. I will tell him.
The message, sacred one, for my king.
Queen Jocasta will bear a son, but it would have been better not to have invoked the gods. The son will slay his father and take his mother to wife.
But, Holy One.
The god has spoken. Go.
But
there is a curse upon the family. I know not whence nor why.
It is from Homer, the most ancient of the Greek poets whose works survive, that we first hear of the consequences of that terrible curse. In his Odyssey, the hero, Odysseus, makes a brief visit to the underworld and meets the shades of some of the renowned men and women of the past.
The mother, too, of Oedipus I saw, beautiful Jocasta, who in life had done unwittingly a heinous deed, had married her own son, who, having slain his father first, espoused her. In misery he lived, for so decreed the offended gods. But she went down to Hades' gates that are forever barred to her, since in her grief she'd slung a rope from the bridal chamber's rafter and ended her own life, leaving Oedipus to bear woes without measure.
The Greeks seem to have been the first Europeans who gave dramatic expression to the Oedipus theme, the dilemma of a man who becomes abnormally attached to his mother and as a result becomes his father's unconscious rival. The situation which the Oedipus story symbolizes, however, is much older than the classical Greek version and has appeared in nearly every part of the world, often in religious clothing. In ancient Egypt, for example...
With us, it was part of the Isis, Osiris, and Horus cult.
In Babylonia, we had Ishtar and Timus.
In Assyria, too. And the Sumerians had something like that before us.
Many people, especially in India, still tell our story of Agni, Tani, and Mithra. It was a major theme in the old Persian and Median religion.
With us in Japan, it is the story of...
They had different names in Scandinavia, Africa, Polynesia, and the Americas, but the story was much the same. It obviously describes a situation which psychologically was so common as to seem universal. Our modern term, Oedipus complex, derives from it.
The mother usually is the first person whom an infant learns to love, since the mother is usually the first to supply food and warmth, comforts, and affection. It is natural, therefore, that children should at first be jealous of anyone else who makes demands on their mother's attentions, whether other children or father.
Mama, Johnny hit me.
Hush now, Nicky. I'm feeding the baby.
I don't care. Johnny hit me.
All right, Nicky, I'm sorry, but I have to feed the baby now.
I don't care. I hate her anyway.
Now, Nicky, you shouldn't say that.
But it's true. You're always busy with her.
Now, Nicky, she's just a baby.
I don't care. Johnny hit me.
All right, come here. Mama will kiss it and make it better. Well, oh, darn it. Oh, Nicky, please run and open the door. Mama's still feeding the baby.
You were going to kiss it. It's right on my head here.
All right, bend over. Now, please go and see who's at the door. I'll kiss it again later.
Okay.
Well, I thought I'd never get in. Oh, thank you, son. Where's Mama? Honey?
In here.
I'm sorry, honey. I left my keys at home. Oh, you're with the baby.
I'm just done. Wait a minute. I'll be right with you.
But, Mama, you said you'd kiss it again. Johnny hit me.
Now, don't be a crybaby, Nick. Let me see. Oh, gosh, that doesn't look like so much.
Yeah, but now Mama's going to talk to you all the time, and she said when she was through with the baby...
Well, as they grow up, most children adjust themselves to the fact that they are not the only ones who count in the world, even to their parents. And they gradually form the outside attachments which go with so-called normal living. It is only when the emotional dependence of growing children upon one parent or the other becomes too intense or lasts into adulthood that we psychiatrists reach for special terms such as Oedipus complex. Or sometimes, in the case of a girl's overly strong attachment to her father, Electra complex. The two terms, of course, merely describe opposite sides of the same coin, an Oedipus situation. A common symptom of both is dislike or even hatred for the other parent, who appears as an ever-present rival for exclusive affection.
The Oedipus motif in one form or another appears in the literature of all ages and regions so often that the emotional situation which it symbolizes must also have been a common experience. Greece of the 4th century B.C. alone left us at least 8 dramatic works about Oedipus himself, plus a number of others with related themes. In the Middle Ages, the Oedipus theme was sometimes connected with figures prominent in Christian tradition, such as Judas Iscariot and St. Gregory. And in modern times, a great array of poets and dramatists have dealt with the subject, including Shakespeare, Corneille, Voltaire, Dryden, and not least of all, America's own great Eugene O'Neill in his trilogy, Morning Becomes Electra. O'Neill does not depict just one aspect of the Oedipus situation, but several, including the Electra form, from which he takes his title. His story is laid in New England at the end of the Civil War and deals with the tangled relationships between a well-to-do shipowner, General Ezra Mannon, his wife Christine, his daughter Lavinia, and his only son Orrin. The general and his son have been away to war, the son unwillingly, having signed up only in response to his father's and sister's pressure. Lavinia, the daughter, is sitting in the garden with a young ship captain, Adam Brandt, who was employed by her father's firm. Captain Brandt has been secretly making love to Christine, the mother, while pretending to be interested in Lavinia.
What do you think of the news of Lee surrendering, Captain Brandt? We expect my father home very soon now.
Yes, you must be very happy at the prospect of seeing your father again. Your mother has told me how close you have always been to him.
Did she? I love Father better than anyone in the world. There's nothing I wouldn't do to protect him from hurt.
You care for him more than for your mother?
Yes.
Well, I suppose that's the usual way of it. A daughter feels closer to her father, and a son to his mother.
A short time later, Lavinia, in her father's study, accuses her mother of having become involved with Captain Brandt.
Stop lying, I tell you. I went upstairs. I heard you telling him, I love you, Adam, and kissing him. You're shameless and evil. Even if you are my mother, I say it. I knew you hated me, Vinny, but not as bitterly as that. Very well. I love Adam Brandt.
How you say that without any shame. You don't give one thought to Father, who's so good, who trusts you. How could you do this to Father? I won't listen.
You will listen. I'm talking to you as a woman now, not as mother to daughter. I loved your father once before I married him, but marriage soon turned romance into disgust.
So I was born of your disgust. I've always guessed that, Mother, ever since I was little, when I used to come to you with love. You'd always push me away. Oh, I hate you.
I tried to love you, but I could never make myself feel you were born of any body but your father.
How can you be so... You loved my brother, Orrin. Why didn't you hate him, too?
I was resigned by then. I hope you realize I never would have fallen in love with Adam if I'd had Orrin with me. When he'd gone to war, there was nothing left but hate and a desire to be revenged and a longing for love. Suppose you'll hardly let your father get in the door before you tell him.
No, not unless you force me to. Father hasn't been well lately, and I'm not going to have him hurt. It's my first duty to protect him from you.
I know you, Vinny. I've watched you ever since you were little, trying to do exactly what you're doing now. You've tried to become the wife of your father and the mother of Orrin.
Lavinia, of course, had bitten off a great deal more than would perhaps seem proper in a daughter. And when her father, General Mannon, arrives home...
Father!
Oh, Father! Come, I thought I taught you never to cry.
I'm sorry, Father, but I'm so happy.
Tears are queer tokens of happiness. But I appreciate your feeling.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. You're the only man I'll ever love. I'm going to stay with you.
I hope so. I want you to remain my little girl. For a while longer, at least. Must be your bedtime, Vinny. March now.
Yes, Father.
O'Neill, in these scenes, has outlined the conflicting relationships between Lavinia and her father and her mother. In the following, he gives us a similar insight into Orrin's position in the all-embracing Oedipus situation which dominates life in the Mannon household. Orrin cynically describes to Lavinia an incident during the war which won him military honors and his father's respect. Orrin belittles both.
And I think how proud he was when he came home, Orrin. He boasted that you had done one of the bravest things he'd seen in the war.
One of the bravest things he'd seen. I'll tell you the joke about that heroic deed. I sneaked through their lines. There was a thick mist. It was so still that you could hear the fog seeping into the ground. I met a rebel crawling toward our lines. His face drifted out of the mist toward mine. I shortened my sword and let him have the point under the ear. He stared at me with an idiotic look, and his eyes dimmed and went out.
Don't think of that now.
Before I'd gotten back, I had to kill another in the same way. It was like murdering the same man twice. I had a queer feeling that war meant murdering the same man over and over. Their faces kept coming back in dreams, and they changed to Father's face. What does it mean, Vinny?
I don't know.
The next morning, in the trenches, my head was queer. And I thought, what a joke it would be on the stupid generals like Father if everyone on both sides suddenly saw the joke that war was on them and laughed and shook hands. So I began to laugh and walk toward their lines with my hand out. Of course, the joke was on me. I got this wound in my head. Then I went mad and ran on yelling. Then a lot of our fools went crazy, too, and followed me, and we captured part of the line we hadn't dared tackle before. You wonder that I laugh?
General Mannon is dead by this time, poisoned by Christine. A final revenge, perhaps, for his having robbed her of her son. Lavinia knows that her mother has killed her father, but is unable to convince Orrin.
My God, how can you think such things of Mother?
I've never lied to you, have I?
Yes, but...
And even
but
if she's got you so under her thumb again that you doubt my word, you can't doubt the absolute proof.
Never mind what you call proofs. Now, you listen here. If you think that you're going to tell me a lot of crazy stuff about Mother, I warn you I won't listen. Mother means 1,000 times more to me than Father ever did.
Lavinia and Orrin, driven by Lavinia, do avenge their father's death by killing Captain Brandt and driving their mother to suicide. But they, too, must pay the penalty. Orrin misses his mother so much that he also kills himself. And Lavinia is left alone, a woman past despair, with only her pride and her bitter memories to keep her company. The immortal version of the Oedipus story, of course, is that of Sophocles, who wrote his trilogy sometime in the 5th century before Christ. His drama begins with Oedipus at the height of his glory as king of Thebes and contented husband and father. The curse which overhung Oedipus's birth had frightened King Laius and Queen Jocasta so much that they had given their newborn infant to a trusted shepherd with orders that the child should be exposed on the barren slopes of Mount Cithaeron, and that a spike should be driven through his feet so that he could not even crawl for shelter. It was from this that the boy had later derived his name, Oedipus, which in Greek means swollen foot. The faithful shepherd had pierced the infant's feet, but then, in pity, had turned him over to another herdsman from Corinth, and the Corinthian had delivered the child to his own royal couple, who were themselves childless. Oedipus had grown up, never doubting that he was the son and heir of Polybus and Merope, the king and queen of Corinth. But when he had reached manhood, well, this is how he himself describes the incident to Jocasta in John Dryden's play Oedipus.
'Twas at a bridal feast. One warm with wine told me I was a foundling, not the king's son. I, stung with this reproach, struck him. My father heard of it. The man was made to ask pardon, and the business hushed.
'Twas somewhat odd.
And strangely, it perplexed me. I stole away to Delphos and implored the god to tell my certain parentage. He bade me seek no further. 'Twas my fate to kill my father and pollute his bed by marrying her who bore me.
What had happened before Oedipus had met and married Jocasta, we have to reconstruct from various accounts. Oedipus, on his way to Delphi in his chariot, had to pass through a narrow gap in the mountains. Partway through, he had met a party of 5 men, also with a chariot, carrying his unknown true father, Laius.
Ho there! Out of the way!
Out of the way yourself! I'm deeper in the past than you are.
Can you not recognize the Lord?
So am I a lord, and of Corinth. There is gold on my chariot, not brass as on his.
Well, listen to pretty boy. We'll take care of you.
Stop, I say.
Never mind, Lord Laius. We can handle him.
At him, you shoulder rat! Well, then, come on! As for you, loudmouth! And now, you, my lord, whoever you may be. Look at the last of your warriors. Run!
I am ready, robber.
Robber? No, my lord. I shall leave your chariot for your driver over there to take back to your home, and your armor as well. Sorry, my lord. But 'twas not I who begged the fight. Charioteer, you may come now and pick up your master and your comrades. I'm on my way.
After Oedipus had received his horrifying oracle from the temple at Delphi, he had decided never again to return to Corinth, to avoid any chance of the prophecies coming true, never realizing, of course, that he had already fulfilled the first part of it by killing his real father, King Laius, in the fight in the mountain pass. And then, in his aimless wanderings, he reached his native Thebes and found the city in terror. A sphinx had settled on a cliff overlooking the city and insisted that all passers-by solve a riddle on pain of death. Many Thebans had already perished when Oedipus, passing through the city, volunteered to face the monster.
Thou hast a riddle, winged one?
Indeed I have. And many Thebans, stranger, have died for lack of wit to answer it.
Carest thou so little for thy worthless life that thou wouldst come forth to challenge me?
'Tis little indeed I care. Speak up.
Here then and die, fool, as have all the others. Name me the creature that walks on 4 legs in the morning, on 2 at noon, and 3 in the evening.
'Tis simple.
Indeed it is.
'Tis man, who in his infancy on all 4s crawls, in the strength of his middle years walks on 2, but needs a staff when creeping age once more deprives him of his powers.
I'm lost. I perish. Receive me, abyss, in your depths.
The Thebans, grateful for their deliverance from the monster, had offered Oedipus the kingship and the hand of their widowed queen, Jocasta. For nearly 20 years, Thebes had prospered again. Oedipus had proved himself a wise and popular ruler. His life with Jocasta was happy, and he had 4 children by her, 2 boys and 2 girls. But then a terrible plague struck the kingdom.
1,000 deaths advance. All is so sudden. Scarce one man falls, but that another, looking on in wonder, falls himself, and a third, stooping to raise his dying friend, topples beside him. Death's grown riotous.
Our streets are covered with the dead and dying.
Betwixt the bride and bridegroom does the nuptial torch do common office for marriage and for death.
Nor are the people alone afflicted. Our cattle die, and the very earth is turned as barren as the wombs of our wives.
The gods are angry. Some evil stalks the city.
To find out for what sinful deed Thebes was being punished, the queen's brother, Creon, is sent to Delphi once again to consult the oracle of Phoebus Apollo. He reports that the gods are wrathful because King Laios' murderer has not been punished, although he lives in Thebes itself. Puzzled, Oedipus sends for the old blind seer Tiresias.
To thee, Tiresias, sightless but all-seeing, the purport of the answer the god returned to us, the messengers have doubtless told.
Let me go home. Prevent me not. 'Twere best that thou shouldst bear thy burden, and I mine.
For shame. Withhold not, I adjure thee, the word of prophecy. We are thy suppliants all. Wouldst thou betray us and destroy the state?
I will not vex myself nor thee. Why ask? All that will come, though I be mute.
Thou makest me wroth. I will not stint my words. Methinks that thou art he who planned the crime. And, wert not blind, I truly think that thou didst do the bloody deed.
Is that thy thought? Then let me charge thee. Upon thyself thy curse and punishment inflict. For thou... Yes, thou, Lord Oedipus, thou art the murderer thou seekst. 'Tis thou and thou alone who draweth misfortune upon Thebes.
Vile slanderer.
Thou goadest me to speak against my will.
Thou shalt rue so gross a calumny.
Must I say more to aggravate thy rage? I say thou livest with thy nearest kin, in infamy, unwitting of thy shame. Thy word is not to be invoked by me. I leave to Phoebus what concerns the god. This day shall be thy birthday and thy grave.
And so it proved. Oedipus almost immediately found evidence that it must have been he who had killed King Laios. Yet he still did not accept the fact that Laios had been his true father, and Jocasta, therefore, his mother. But then a messenger arrived.
Who is this man? And what is news for me?
He comes from Corinth, and his message this. Thy father, Polybus, has passed away.
And the Isthmian commons have resolved to make thee king.
Nay. I will never go to Corinth more, not while my mother lives.
If that old curse perchance is causing thee alarm, know that thy fears are groundless. Polybus no more thy sire was than I. He took thee from my hands a living gift, while I in turn had got thee feet sore wounded from a servant of thine own household, who said he had found thee in Cytherene's wooded glen.
Oh, nay, speak no more. Enough of these ancient lays.
Not so, my queen. At last,
I find the truth after so long a search?
Perhaps, my lord, thou soon wilt wish that thou hadst never found it. I must go.
So Oedipus alone continues to question the Corinthian messenger, his horror and despair mounting as bit by bit the truth is revealed. He sends for the aged shepherd to whom his death had originally been entrusted, and the old man unwillingly admits that it was Jocasta herself who...
Lord King, come quick! The Queen!
Our sovereign lady, Queen Jocasta, dead. Dead by her own hand, and all the horror of it none who have not seen can comprehend.
And Oedipus,
our king, he with a frenzied cry against the bedroom's door launched his full weight and splintered it to find Jocasta hanging there, a running noose entwined about her neck. And when he saw her, with a maddened roar he loosed the cord, and when her wretched corpse lay stretched upon the earth, 'twas dread what followed. He tore the golden brooches that upheld her queenly robes, upraised them high, and smote the pins into his eyeballs, uttering words like these.
Swing wide the gates. All thieves let see their king, his sire's slayer and his mother's.
Look ye! Look! The gates are opening!
No more shall ye behold such sights of woe. Deeds I have suffered, and myself have wrought. I vow to flee, self-banished from the land, to save my people from the curse which yet adheres to me. The end. Oh, where?
An end too dread to tell, too dark to see.
You've been listening to the CBS Radio Workshop and the Oedipus story, as written by Henry E. Fritsch, with excerpts from Sophocles to Eugene O'Neill. Music was composed and arranged by Alexander Steinert, with additional scoring by Ralph Sandor and Henry Silverne, and directed by Henry Silverne. The CBS Radio Workshop is produced and directed in New York by Paul Roberts. Alexander Scorby was the narrator. Elspeth Eric was heard as Lavinia, Peggy Allenby as Christine, Jack Manning as Oren and Oedipus, and Roger DeKoven as General Menelaus. Also included in the cast were Ivor Francis, Robert McQueenie, Guy Rep, Nell Harrison, Mark Leonard, Bob Dryden, Bobby Alford, Joanne Palmer, Joseph Julian, Ruth Tobin, and Joseph Warren. America listens most to the CBS Radio Network.
From Hollywood, the CBS Radio Workshop. This is Samuel Clemens speaking. Word comes to our colony of late residents of the United States that the art form known as the motion picture makes a pretty good thing of bringing the great American West to the attention of current inhabitants who are fortunate enough to live somewhere else. As I understand it, the movie makers have found three basic ingredients necessary to their presentation of life in the West. Ingredient one, scenery. Ingredient two, a good man in a white Stetson and a bad one with 10 gallons of black felt on his head. Ingredient three, a rousing chase over ingredient one and involving ingredient two. Of course, they add a few refinements now and then, such as the love of mankind for horsekind.
Don't know what I'd do without you, broomtail partner.
Or maybe a battle against the elements.
Gotta keep moving. Ain't no little thing like a blizzard. a prairie fire, and a flood gonna stop me.
And sometimes even a female.
Come back when you can, Ranger, and thanks.
Now, word has reached me that in addition to symphony orchestras, trick horses, and guitar players, they also hire writers just to think up these adult westerns. This seems a little silly to me, since I wrote a book some 90 years ago which contains all the literary appurtenances necessary to make a western as adult as it should be. These writing fellows can find it in any library. Its title is Roughing It, and its author is yours truly, Samuel Clemens.
CBS Radio presents the CBS Radio Workshop, dedicated to man's imagination, the theater of the mind. Tonight by tape, the workshop offers to writers of Western films a do-it-yourself kit through the courtesy of one of America's greatest humorists, Samuel Clemens.
Mind you, I don't consider myself an authority. It's just that I was there back in 1863. It happened my brother Bob was appointed Secretary of the Territory of Nevada, and I was pretty cut up about it. Pretty soon he would be hundreds of miles away on the great plains and deserts and mountains of the far west. He would see buffaloes and Indians and prairie dogs and antelopes. Maybe he would get hanged or scalped and write home and tell us all about it and be a hero. So when he offered me the sublime position of private secretary under him, it seemed the heavens and earth passed away, and the firmament was rolled together as a scroll. I accepted. We left the States at St. Joseph, Missouri, and headed west across the plains by fast stagecoach.
Gents? Yep. Maybe a bit crowded.
If that pile of mail sacks topples loose, we'll be crowded right through the back of the coach.
Yep. We got 2,700 pounds of mail aboard. Some for Salt Lake, Carson, and Frisco. Half of the heft of it is for the Indians. Mail for the Indians? Oh, there's powerful troublesome stuff. They get plenty of trucks to read.
It was a superb summer morning, and all the landscape was brilliant with sunshine. So I didn't give much thought to Indians, literate or illiterate. We felt there was only one complete and satisfying happiness in the world, and we had found it. We felt a lot different 12 hours later as we slashed through a prairie rainstorm.
Whoa there! Whoa!
Sam. Yes, Bob?
What happened?
Well, how should I?
By George, and thoroughbrace is broke!
Just what I was going to say.
Thoroughbrace? Is that part of a horse?
Well, doubtless a vital part, a leg maybe.
Well, how could a horse break a leg on a road this smooth?
He may have been reaching around to bite the driver.
Have to turn out a spell, gents. Thoroughbrace is broke. In all this rain? A little drizzle is all. Won't melt you. Here, I'll hold the lantern so you can see the trouble. Yeah. Is the animal in pain? Yeah, see that doggone strap connected to the other belt in spring contraption? Right there, under the rear of the coach.
Oh, say, I never saw a thoroughbrace used up like that before that I can remember. How did it happen?
Yeah, it happened trying to make one coach carry 3 days' mail, that's how. Yeah, but it's lucky. To protect us from the Indians. How so? Why, right here in this very spot is where I was supposed to leave that whole ton of newspapers for him. And it's so nation dark, I might have drove right by if the thoroughbrace hadn't broke. Hey. Now, if I can ask you gents to help me toss out the sacks, I'll get on with mending it.
When will the Indians pick up their mail?
In the morning, maybe. Or next time they're along this way. All I know is that with all this fascinating reading matter, they won't be bothering us.
they didn't, and we enjoyed considerably more legroom in the stage. 56 hours later, we crossed the Platte River and rattled into Fort Kearny in the territory of Nebraska, 300 miles out of St. Joe. 300 miles in 56 hours. But they went and spoiled it. They pushed the railroad out onto that beautiful prairie. And only 12 years later, they made the same 300 miles in less than 16 hours. And now I'm given to understand that this record has recently fallen to the newfangled flying machine. So it's no wonder that the fellows who make these Western movies never get a chance to find out what the West is really like. You gotta rock along a rutted trail at 12 miles an hour like we did to understand the country. Soon we acquired certain blisters, and when they became calluses, the seats became less hard. The driver of the stagecoach was perhaps the very first of a hardy breed. George Bemis was his name, only nowadays you meet him as Gabby or Chill or Fuzzy or maybe the old-timer. But if any of those Johnny-come-latelys think they can hold a candle to George Bemis, they'd better start burning it at both ends.
Yes, Squaw's late getting back from the buffalo hunt. Well, here's that stupid horse's fault. The minute he saw that buffalo wheel on him, he raced straight up in the air and stood on his heels.
He threw you?
Takes more horse than him to throw George Bemis. Well, then the buffalo made another pass, and I may wish to die if the horse didn't stand on his head for a quarter of a minute and shed tears.
But you stayed on through the flood.
I stayed on. Pretty soon, the buffalo made a snatch for us and brought away some of my horse's tail. Then you should have seen that spider-legged old skeleton of a horse go, and the buffalo cut out after him.
Which was faster?
I never did determine. But by George, it was a hot race. I in the saddle were back on the horse's rump, and I had the bridle in my teeth while holding onto the pommel with both hands. First we left the dogs behind. Then we passed the jackrabbit. Then we overtook a coyote. And we were standing on an antelope when the saddle girth let go, and I landed about 30 yards off to the left at the foot of the only tree in 9 counties adjacent. The buffalo come over to see if I was hurt. And 1 second after that, I was astraddle of the main limb. It was a little over 40 feet to the ground from where I sat.
But you were safe.
That's what a tenderfoot like you might assume, Mr. Clemens. But presently a thought come to that buffalo, and he started in to climb that tree.
What, the buffalo?
Of course. Who else?
But a buffalo can't climb a tree.
He can't, can't he? Since you know so much about it, did you ever see one try?
No.
Well, then, the buffalo started to climb that tree. So I cautiously unwound the lariat from the pommel of my saddle.
Your saddle? Did you take your saddle up the tree with you?
Of course I didn't. It landed there when the horse kicked it, and it was falling off him when the girth let go.
Oh, I see.
Certainly. So I unwound the lariat and fastened one end of it to the limb. Higher and higher clumb that buffalo. He hitched his foot over the stump of a limb and looked at me as if to say, "You are my meat friend."
But buffaloes don't eat meat.
Don't they, though? He was within 10 feet of me, his eyes hot, his tongue hanging out. And by this time, I had one end of the lariat tied to the limb and the coil all ready. All of a sudden, I let go, and the slip noose fell fairly around his neck. Quicker than lightning, I was out with my revolver. Hey, that scared the buffalo, too. Must have. For when the smoke cleared away, he'd let loose his hold of the tree trunk, and there he was, dangling in the air 20 feet from the ground. So I shinnied down and headed for home.
Well, that's quite a story, Mr. Bemis. It's a little hard to swallow, but still quite a story.
You wouldn't care to doubt it, would you, young man?
No, but,
Did I bring back my lariat?
No.
Did I bring back my horse?
No.
Or my saddle?
No.
Well, then.
There's something to be said for a liar on a long journey, though. A really good one makes the time pass more quickly. But 20 days is still 20 days. And that's how long it took us to reach Carson City, the capital of Nevada Territory. If you want to know what Carson City looked like back then, just try to recall the little town in high noon with those funny little white frame buildings that seemed too high to sit down on and hardly high enough for anything else. Carson was like that, and the same sort of things went on there as Gary Cooper and the Princess and all the other fine people acted out. But as I recall, the action at Carson City moved toward its climax without benefit of that old clock on the wall. And there was action. It began the moment we climbed down from the stagecoach. A tall, rangy fellow that might have been Gary's granddad rode up and shook hands with us from the lofty turret of his saddle.
Good afternoon. I take it you're Mr. Clemens, the new secretary.
I am, sir. And this is my brother Sam.
I'm deeply pleased to welcome you. I'm Mr. Harris. The governor sent me to meet you.
Well, now, that's mighty...
I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to excuse me a minute. Yonder is the witness who swore I helped rob the California coach some weeks ago. A piece of impertinent meddling, gentlemen, for I'm not even acquainted with the man. Get up there! Whoa! Now, gentlemen, if there is any way I may be of service.
I never saw Mr. Harris shoot down a man after that without recalling my first day in Carson City. I was wonderfully fascinated with the curious new country, and I set about to become a real Westerner. Now, every Westerner must have a horse to ride, a noble, intelligent, friendly beast, which I understand, according to routine film procedures, must be acquired by saving it in colthood from a stock shot of a cougar, or at very least from a mob of blackguards bent on thwarting the SPCA. But that is the hard way to get a horse.
$20 I am bid for this noble beast. Friends, don't hurt the animal's pride. Now, do I hear 22?
It looks like that one's going pretty cheap, don't it, Strange?
Well, I'm not too familiar with the local market.
Saddle alone's worth the money.
Friends, who make it 22?
22.
$22 I'm bid, and it's still a steal in the crying shake.
Well, I was about to bid myself, but if you want him...
I don't really want him. I wouldn't know what to do with another horse. It's just that I know this one. I know him well.
Oh?
Now, you might think he was an American horse, when he's nothing of the kind.
Going.
24.
24 is bid. Thank you, Joey. 24 for this magnificent super.
Excuse my speaking in a low voice, stranger. Other people being near and all that. But he is, without a shadow of a doubt, a genuine Mexican plug.
Really?
Yes, sir. A genuine Mexican plug. I only wish I could use him. See, why don't you bid on him?
Has he any other advantages?
Oh, yeah, the 24 and a half. He can outbuck anything in America.
You're sure you don't want him?
No. I wish I did. You go right ahead, sir.
24 and a half 3 times.
27.
So, come and get him, friend.
Congratulations, stranger. You always get a bargain when my brother auctions off a horse.
Certain citizens held my genuine Mexican plug by the head and others by the tail while I mounted him. As soon as they let go, he placed all his feet in a bunch together, lowered his back, then suddenly arched it upward and caught me straight into the air. The third time I went up, I heard my new friend say,
"Oh, don't he buck, though?"
And when I came down again, the genuine Mexican plug was not there. He darted away like a telegram, soared over 3 fences like a bird, and disappeared down the road toward the Washoe Valley. I sat down on a stone with a sigh. One of my hands sought my forehead, the other the base of my stomach. I never appreciated till then the poverty of the human machine, for I still needed a hand or two to place elsewhere. And subsequent events, as you shall see, convinced me that the movie maker perhaps is inclined to romanticize the horse's usefulness to man. Now, this was the time of the great silver fever. John Wayne himself searched for the Comanche no more avidly or in deeper snow than the inhabitants of Nevada searched for hidden wealth. I succumbed and joined a prospecting party consisting of a Mr. Ballou, a Mr. Ollendorf, me, and 3 miserable horses. We rode out of Carson on a chilly December afternoon, and some days later...
Move! Now, come along here, you sparing monster. Move!
Mine doesn't pull any easier than yours, Ballou.
This one pulls even harder yet. Maybe they don't like it, the snow.
I don't like it, the snow either, Ollendorf. Yeah, we should have stayed at the stage station another day or two, maybe, till we could see where we was going.
My head, it is like a compass. Exactly where we are going, I know by instinct.
Well, now, that's splendid news. The last 4 hours would have been happier if you'd told us 4 hours ago.
My instinct sets a beeline. If we was to waver off that beeline a single degree of the compass, my instinct, she would say, whoa! I didn't mean you, whoa. I meant myself, whoa. Come, horse.
Oh, we should have traveled with the party left before us this morning.
I rather wish we had.
Oh, but here are the tracks of that party.
Say, they are tracks at that.
So, we hurry and catch up with them. I told you my head, it is like a compass. Come, horse.
We must be catching them. Tracks look fresher.
Yeah, there seems to be more of them.
Maybe some others also have joined the party. Come, horse.
More people joining the party all the time.
I wonder how such a large group of people can be so quiet.
Well, maybe they don't like each other. Come, horse.
Enough tracks now for a platoon of soldiers.
Our regiment yet. Any minute we catch up with them.
Yeah, any minute. Boys, wait. These here's our own tracks. We've been circusing around in a confounded circle for the last 2 hours.
What?
Well, certainly we have. Not a very big circle at that.
But my head, it is like a compass.
Ollendorf, your head, it is like a rock.
Here, horsey, horsey, horsey.
Oh, Clemens, if you hadn't used up all them matches...
Well, if you hadn't got the fool notion that frozen sagebrush would burn...
Well, if you hadn't dropped the bridle and lost the horses when Ollendorf tried to light the fire by shooting his pistol into it...
Yeah, horsey, horsey, horsey.
Well, if horses would stay by their master's side through thick and thin like those lying books say they do...
If you hadn't overslept this morning so we could have joined that other party...
If Ollendorf hadn't led us around and around in circles,
Boys! Let us die without hard feelings toward each other. Let us forgive and forget bygones. Maybe you have felt hard toward me. Well, I have felt hard toward you, too. You are both a couple of doomcocks. But I forgive you. I forgive you with all my heart.
You know something, Ollendorf? You make me ashamed of myself. Now, you are a pompous Prussian ass.
Yeah.
But I forgive you, too.
Ballou, Ollendorf, I hadn't traveled 1 mile with you before I decided you were the biggest bores the Maker ever created.
Yeah.
But I forgive both of you.
Well, thanks.
I could not die with 2 finer gentlemen.
Well, let's shake hands and then lie down in the snow. And in the morning, well, we'll be frozen to death.
Yeah. They say that freezing to death is the most happiest way to die.
That's what they say.
So long. Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye. A delicious dreaminess wove its web about my yielding senses. The snowflakes wove a winding sheet about my conquered body. Oblivion came. We woke in the gray dawn, and not 15 feet away under the shed of the stage station stood our noble horses. It's no fault of theirs that I ever got back to Carson City and continued my research on the mores and peoples of the West. It was a grueling job, and when I became so physically exhausted that I felt the need of a bit of spiritus frumenti to rub on my corns, I would repair to an establishment noted for its medicinal hospitality. Now, I have no quarrel with the Hollywood notion that ruffians are found in saloons. I have no quarrel with calling these ignoble creatures by the names of states, such as Montana, Texas, or Black Bart. But I do quarrel with their idea of the raw passions that ignite a barroom quarrel. And I give them Arkansas.
Come on now, landlord. You can get that bottle on the bar faster than that, can't you? No offense, Mr. Arkansas. There's other guests in the place, too, you know. I got eyes. There you are. Your second bottle today, Mr. Arkansas. Put this rum in the bill, too. Well, now, I was reading about the Pennsylvania election. I reckon it... Oh, what do you know about Pennsylvania? Answer me that, Johnson. What do you know about Pennsylvania? Well, I was only going to say that... What was you going to say? That's what I want to know. Yeah, repeat what you were saying about Pennsylvania, if you dare. Why, I was only going to say that Pennsylvania was going to have election next week. That was all I was going to say. I wish I may never stir if it wasn't. And why don't you say it? What you come swelling around that way for, trying to raise trouble? Well, I didn't come swelling around, Mr. Arkansas. I was already here because I own this place. And I just... Oh, so I'm a liar, am I? Now, please. Now, please. I never meant such a thing as that. I got ears. Any man calls me a liar. Oh, now, come on now, Mr. Arkansas. Let's take a drink together. Let's shake hands and take a drink. Well... Now that you put it that way... Well, come on up, everybody. It's my treat. Bill, Tom, Bob, Baloo, come on up. Yeah, just leave the bottle. I want you all to take a drink with me in Arkansas. Old Arkansas, I call him. Give me your hand again, old Arkansas. Give me that old flipper again. As long as you say so, and as long as you're buying... Why, sure. Hey, drink up there, Baloo. Oh, say... By the way, how's your father? Not so good. You know, my father was upwards of 80-year-old when he passed away, and if he hadn't... Landlord, would you please make that remark over again, if you please? Why, I was just saying to Baloo that my father was upwards of 80-year-old when he died. Was that all you said? Yeah, that was all. You didn't say nothing about that? No, nothing. Look, what's the idea of raking up old personalities and blowing about your father? Ain't this crowd agreeable to you? Well, of course this crowd... If this crowd ain't agreeable to you, perhaps we'd better leave. Is that your idea? Why, bless your soul, Arkansas, I wasn't thinking of such a thing. I only said that my father... Landlord, don't crowd a man. Don't do it. Don't rake up old bygones and throw them in the teeth of a pastoral people that wants to be peaceful if they could get a chance. What's the matter with you today, anyway? Well, Arkansas, I really didn't mean no harm. But with so many customers, a man's got to give each one a little... Well, that's what's ranking your heart, is it? Too many customers. You want us to leave, is that it? Now, please be reasonable, Arkansas. You know I ain't a man... Come out from behind that bar. Now, please, Arkansas, please don't shoot. If there's got to be blood... So it's blood you want, you raving desperado. You made up your mind to murder somebody today, and it's me you got in mind, eh? No, well, you can't do that. I get one chance first. You thieving, black-hearted, white-livered son of a sea cook. Draw your weapon.
Let me see Hollywood stop that one without rivers of blood and mothers dragging their screaming offspring from the theaters, never to return. Hollywood would never think the carnage could be halted by the tender words and frail beauty of the pioneer woman, would it?
What's going on in here? Johnson, what do you mean stumbling through our nice glass door that way? And who's doing that shooting? Who's causing all this? Oh, it's you, is it, Arkansas?
Well, Mr. Johnson, I didn't
Don't
mean to...
tell me what you mean. You're the only one with shooting iron smoking. Well, when a man can't hold more than 2-3 quarts of whiskey without he has to disturb a poor woman who's slaving her life away over a boiling hot range trying to prepare a few victuals to keep the customers from starving themselves to death and causing her clumsy oaf of a husband to smash himself through a lovely glass door, which we only had shipped clear out here to make the place a little mite more like things was back in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Well, you fire off that pistol once more, and I'll run this butcher knife clean down from your guzzle to your boots. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now do your drinking peaceable.
All right, dear.
There's lots more in my book. The real information about the West. Information appears to stew out of me naturally, like precious otter of roses out of the otter. So, as I previously remarked, any writing fellows contemplating an adult Western can find the book in the public library. Its title is Roughing It, and its author is yours truly, Samuel Clemens.
The CBS Radio Workshop, produced and transcribed in Hollywood by William N. Robeson, has tonight presented Roughing It by Samuel Clemens, adapted for radio by Francis Van Hartesveld, and directed by Mr. Robeson. Louis Van Ruten was heard as Sam Clemens. Included in the cast were D.J. Thompson, Eddie Marr, Dawes Butler, Peter Leeds, Howard McNear, Jack Crucian, Hal Perry, and Junius Matthews. The original score was composed and conducted by Amerigo Marino. Next week, the workshop will be heard from New York in a demonstration of A Writer at Work by and with Hector Chevnier, author of the daytime serial The Second Mrs. Burton. Looking for a shortcut to satisfaction, there's nothing quite as satisfactory as knowing you've accomplished a good deed. And when you do that good deed through your United Community Fund, you really are taking that shortcut. When you're thinking about lending your support to the United Fund in your town, CBS Radio hopes you'll remember that the United Fund is a way to help many worthwhile efforts with just one gesture on your part.